How would you feel if your every move was being monitored? Well, it may not be that extreme yet, but we may be getting there. Following the attack of 9/11, President Bush authorized the National Security Agency to survey phone calls, among other things, without a warrant. Fast forward a couple of years to the bombing of the Boston Marathon. Within seconds of the explosion, nearly every single wireless phone had been tapped into and traced throughout the country. Looking at these gigantic, widespread examples, you may be thinking, how does this connect to me? Well, let's put it on a smaller scale. In a school in Austin, Texas, students are being tracked by GPS devices throughout the entire school day. The school has justified this by saying it increases attendance and would be helpful in the case of an emergency. This idea is incredibly flawed. For one thing, many students would see this as an invasion of their privacy and would not want to comply. And if an emergency were to happen, the first thing on kids' minds wouldn't be, I have to hold on to my GPS. Is the tracking really necessary? There are schools everywhere who have gotten along fine without it. Let's talk about some pros and cons. If students were to carry their devices when someone was lost, you could easily find them. However, students would feel uneasy knowing that basically all privacy they had been uprooted by the school. Let's do the same with excessive security cameras. In the case of the Boston Marathon, it was a security camera that caught a picture of the two Tarsniev brothers. That information greatly helped to locate the brothers in the manhunt that followed. But keep in mind, to get that image, FBI agents had to sift through hours of security footage and probably coming up with many false suspects. In everyday life, store security cameras do make a huge difference. But does it make you feel a bit uneasy if there are cameras on almost every street corner? If you were asked the question, do you value privacy more than safety, would you reply with, no. If something happens to me, and they could find out by looking at surveillance footage, it could probably save my life. Or, would you say, this is an invasion of my privacy. It's one thing to have cameras, but GPS tracking devices? It's like where a herd of animals that the owner doesn't want to get lost. Let's take a look at these two surveillance methods separately. A couple of cameras around a school never did any harm. They would also help in decreasing school crime. However, once you start attaching GPS tracking devices to students, any element of trust between students and teachers is destroyed. The school won't seem like a school anymore, and more like a prison. When privacy starts to be taken away, so does trust, and if people don't trust one another, they may be more inclined to do something in poor judgment.